The objective of this SmartTechCheck EduSeries episode is to break down the major themes from Cisco Live 2026 in Las Vegas and explain why Cisco's AI infrastructure story matters. Hello again, it's Mark Vena, CEO and Principal Analyst at SmartTech Research. Let's start with the obvious. Cisco continues to be a critical company in the technology landscape, although sometimes its value proposition gets lost among bigger names like Microsoft, Apple, NVIDIA, and even Cisco's most aggressive networking and security competitors. But Cisco Live made one thing clear. Cisco is not trying to win the AI conversation by building the flashiest model or the hottest consumer device. Cisco is going after the harder, less glamorous, and arguably more important layer, the infrastructure that makes AI work in the real world. The framing of this presentation is straightforward. Cisco is positioning the network as the foundation of the AI era, not as a utility, not as plumbing, but as the connective tissue that turns AI from a lab experiment into enterprise value. That is the right message. The bigger question is whether Cisco delivered it with enough clarity and urgency. My initial take is yes. The keynote successfully connected Cisco's historical networking strength to the new demands of agentic AI, security, cloud control, and operational resilience. Cisco's non-trivial challenge now is making that story simple enough for customers to act on. This slide captures the core thesis from Chuck Robbins. Every major technology wave only becomes useful when it is networked. That was true for the internet. It was true for mobile. It was true for cloud. And now, Cisco is arguing it is absolutely true for AI. The keynote message was not subtle. AI models, GPUs, applications, and agents are powerful, but they are still nodes. The real enterprise value shows up when those nodes are connected, secured, monitored, and governed at scale. That is where Cisco wants to play. The most compelling data point here is that AI-related network traffic could triple in 3 years. That is not a minor refresh cycle. That is a real infrastructure pressure point, especially as robotics, manufacturing, physical AI, and agentic workloads start generating constant traffic. The analyst angle is sharp. Cisco is not competing with OpenAI or Google on model leadership. Cisco is trying to own the infrastructure layer that makes AI usable, secure, and governable. That message worked. It was balanced, credible, and grounded in Cisco's strengths. The risk is that customers hear network modernization and think old school refresh. Cisco needs them to hear something much bigger. AI readiness depends on the network. This slide is where Cisco's AI story gets more interesting. Agentic AI is not just another app running on the network. It changes the traffic model. Traditional SaaS apps mostly wait for humans to click, type, upload, or approve. Agents do not wait. They act, reason, invoke tools, communicate with other systems, and loop continuously at machine speed. That creates a very different infrastructure burden. Cisco's point is that agentic AI could drive a networking supercycle. According to the slide, Enterprise One traffic could grow about 2.5 times without agents, but roughly 9 times with agentic AI over the next decade. A single agentic task can generate 450% more traffic than a human doing equivalent work, with about 70% of that traffic tied to inference. That is a big claim, but it is directionally believable. Why? Because agents are not passive. They pull context, send prompts, call APEs, retrieve data, return results, and keep working. That creates more east-west traffic, more upstream data movement, and more unpredictable patterns. This is one of Cisco's strongest messages from the event. AI infrastructure is not just about GPUs in massive data centers. It is also about the networks that connect data, users, agents, clouds, branches, and devices. That is where Cisco has a right to win. Cisco Cloud Control was the centerpiece platform message. And frankly, it needed to be. Cisco has a huge portfolio. That is a strength, but it can also become a complexity problem. Customers do not want 15 dashboards, 20 workflows, and a fragmented view of their environment. Cloud Control is Cisco's answer to that problem. The pitch is one operating environment across compute, networking, security, observability, collaboration, and third-party integrations. One login, one shared view, one place where humans and agents can operate from the same context. That is the right strategic direction. The key phrase on this slide is simplicity without sacrificing sophistication. That is exactly what enterprise IT wants, but it is also incredibly hard to deliver. What makes cloud control important is not just the dashboard. It is the cross-domain telemetry underneath it. If Cisco can correlate network signals, security signals, application experience, and operational context in one place, it gives IT teams a much better shot at operating at AI speed. Did the keynote successfully land this message? Mostly yes. Cloud control came across as the platform anchor for Cisco's AI era vision. The next challenge is proof. Cisco needs to show customers that this is not just another management layer. It must become the operating cockpit for modern infrastructure. This slide shows Cisco's new IT operating model, AgenticOps. This is where the story moves from visibility to action. For years, IT teams have been buried in dashboards, alerts, logs, tickets, and root cause analysis. They can see more than ever, but that does not always mean they can act faster. Cisco's autonomous agentic loop is designed to change that. The loop is simple: sense degradation, diagnose issues, remediate problems, and validate changes. Humans stay in control, but agents do more of the heavy lifting. That is the right balance. Nobody wants fully autonomous infrastructure making high-risk changes without governance. But nobody wants highly skilled engineers wasting hours chasing repetitive network problems either. The most compelling elements here are deep reasoning, experience metrics, and digital twin. Deep reasoning gives operators hypotheses, evidence, impact assessment, root cause, and next steps. Experience metrics shifts the focus from raw telemetry to actual user outcomes. Digital twin lets teams emulate devices and topology before making production changes. This is a strong enterprise AI use case. It is practical, it is measurable, it targets real operational pain. The keynote messaging was effective because Cisco did not position AI as magic. It positioned AI as a force multiplier for IT operations. This slide expands the story from data centers and operations into the workplace. Cisco's message is that AI agents are now becoming part of the workforce. They plan tasks, invoke tools, coordinate with other agents, and trigger workflows. That changes what every workplace network must support. This is an important point. The workplace is no longer just people with laptops, phones, cameras, and collaboration apps. It is becoming an environment where human workers and digital workers operate side by side. That means the network has to handle more devices, more traffic, more policy decisions, and more security enforcement. Cisco's AI-ready architecture includes Wi-Fi 7, smart switches, secure routers, and industrial switching across offices, hospitals, campuses, and factories. That is a broad footprint, and it plays to Cisco's installed base advantage. Cisco Multi-Cloud Fabric is also important. The slide positions it as site-to-cloud and cloud-to-cloud connectivity with zero-trust routing, service chaining, and thousand eyes observability embedded. That matters because AI workflows rarely live in one clean environment. They span users, branches, SaaS platforms, private data, public cloud, and specialized AI services. Cisco's workplace message was positive and credible. The key challenge is making the agentic workplace feel concrete for mainstream buyers, not just visionary for architects. This was one of the most compelling proof points from Cisco Live. Cisco said it scanned 1.8 billion lines of code across more than 25 languages in 8 weeks. The company said that same effort would have taken its security team 8 years manually. That is a powerful number. But the more important message is not speed alone. It is precision. Traditional static analysis can be noisy. This slide cites one useful finding per 10,000 warnings. That kind of noise crushes security teams because it turns vulnerability discovery into a triage nightmare. Cisco's AI-driven approach claims a false positive rate under 3%, using the Foundry security spec, domain knowledge, and prioritization logic. That is why this claim lands. It is not generic AI theater. It is Cisco applying frontier AI to its own product security responsibilities. This is also where Cisco's balanced tone helped. The company did not say AI eliminates the need for human expertise. It showed how AI can scale expert judgment across a massive code base. Did the keynote successfully present this message? Yes. This was one of the strongest examples because it connected AI, security, scale, and trust in a way customers can understand. Live Protect may be the most practical security message from the event. Cisco is arguing that patching alone is too slow for the agentic AI era. That is a fair point. If AI accelerates vulnerability discovery and attackers move faster, companies cannot always wait for a patch window, reboot, or maintenance cycle. They need runtime defense. Cisco describes Live Protect as a digital immune system. It shields vulnerabilities from exploitation at runtime with no patch, no reboot, and no maintenance window. That is a strong value proposition. The slide also notes that Live Protect is available on N9000 series switches and is expanding to campus and branch smart switches and secure routers. Cloud Control then becomes the command center for vulnerability posture and policy. The broader idea is even more important. In the agentic era, enforcement has to move closer to users, devices, applications, and agents. It can not only sit at the edge or inside a centralized security stack. This is classic Cisco territory. The network is everywhere. So Cisco wants the network to become a distributed enforcement layer. The keynote messaging worked well here because Live Protect translated the AI security problem into a concrete capability. That is exactly what customers need. This slide shows Cisco broadening the conversation. The company is not just talking about AI networking. It is talking about trusted infrastructure for the long term. There are three big ideas here: resilience, sovereignty, and quantum readiness. First, resilience. Cisco IQ and resilient infrastructure services help customers assess exposure and modernize before risk becomes urgent. That is a services-led message. But it is important because most enterprises do not just need new products. They need help understanding where they are vulnerable. Second, sovereignty. Cisco is addressing on-premises and air-gapped AI-ready infrastructure with trust-based licensing for Europe, Asia, and regulated markets. This reflects a real shift. Governments and regulated industries want more control over data, infrastructure, and AI deployment. Third, quantum readiness. Cisco highlighted a universal quantum switch research prototype, quantum-ready assessments, and quantum-safe communications across its core portfolio. This is more future-facing, but it fits the trust narrative. The keynote handled this reasonably well. The risk is message overload. Cisco has a lot to say. The opportunity is to position itself as the company enterprises trust when infrastructure risk becomes board-level risk. That is a powerful lane. Here is my bottom line. Cisco's big bet is to own the AI infrastructure layer. AI will not scale on yesterday's infrastructure. If agents are going to run the enterprise, the network has to become smarter, safer, more observable, and more autonomous. That is the message Cisco wanted to land at Cisco Live. The key pillars are clear. Cloud Control is the platform centerpiece. AgenticOps is the new operating model. Live Protect is the runtime security proof point. And Cisco's broader platform advantage comes from silicon, systems, software, security, observability, and services. My balanced assessment is this: Cisco successfully presented its messaging. The company made a strong case that the AI conversation cannot stop at models and GPUs. It has to include networks, operations, security, resilience, and trust. The positive is that Cisco's story is credible because it maps directly to what Cisco already does well. The challenge is simplicity. Cisco must keep sharpening the story so customers understand the urgency without getting buried in product complexity. Thanks for watching this SmartTechCheck EduSeries episode. Please like, repost, and comment on this episode. Subscribe to the SmartTechCheck podcast on YouTube for more practical analysis on AI, infrastructure, security, and the companies shaping the future of technology. And let us know what topics you want SmartTech Research to explore next.